Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is Deja Brew, where we are waking you up to truth. And man, if I got a good one for you today. So, we all know about CGI and camera tricks and things like this, but we don't really understand the full scope of how far this can go and how mainstream media even can be showing you things that are completely not real by using people's voice tracks to create something completely different, a whole different narrative than what's really happening. And I have two very good examples to share with you just to prove my point. Maybe to wake you up a little bit, open up your eyes, make you question everything. We're going to begin with a complete spoof. This is not real, but it looks very real. Okay? Totally a spoof.
Breaking news today out of Riviera, Texas. Vice President Kamala Harris was on a hunting trip with former Vice President Dick Cheney when she was shot in the face in what appears to have been a freak hunting accident. This comes just days after Vice President Harris was endorsed by Cheney in her current bid to become the next president of the United States this November. A local resident happened to be on a hike with his dog and witnessed the accident. Here's more from his account.
Jeff Ware was out walking his dog Connor this morning when he came across a sight he could barely believe. And what he saw next was something he'll certainly never forget.
So I was out for a hike with my dog Connor. Say hi, Connor. You know, we like to go for a walk once or twice a week, just down in the woods a few miles down the road. And as we're walking, I see two people hunting, which is, nothing out of the ordinary. They got the orange vests on, rifles, all that stuff. But as I get closer, I notice that it is none other than former Vice President Dick Cheney and current Vice President Kamala Harris. I couldn't believe it. And so I see them and they're talking to each other and they're about 10 feet apart, which is nothing strange. And I'm thinking to myself in that moment, I should go get a selfie with them, because how often is it that you see one vice president, let alone two? So then I'm walking over, and at this moment, she's actually got her back turned to him because she was looking a different direction. And then he just raises his rifle and he yells, "Over there." And she turns around and then boom, he just blasts her in the face and chest. And she just hits the ground like a sack of potatoes. And, at this point, I'm thinking, man, I need to help her. So I'll run over thinking I'm going to offer some assistance or call the police. I mean, this is the current presidential candidate for the United States, right? She just been shot. And then I run over offering to help. And I'll never forget this. He just looks at me calm as can be and just says, "She's all right. Nothing to see here." And there was blood everywhere, but the way he was looking at me just really creeped me out. And I mean, he's holding a rifle this whole time. And I'm starting to think, I might be next if I try and press my luck here. So I just turned around and me and Connor just got out of there. And, as we're walking away, I kind of looked back just to see what was going on. And he was just standing there with a grin on his face, kind of just admiring his work, just looking at her. And she's groaning the whole time because she's bleeding. She just been shot. It was one of the most bizarre things I ever seen. And all I could say is if Dick Cheney ever invites you to go hunting with him, don't go. He's going to shoot you, probably in the face. I mean, if Dick Cheney came to me and said, "Hey, Jeff, I got all expensive paid trip for us to go hunting," I'd say, "No, thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'm good, but thank you for offering."
We reached out to former Vice President Cheney for comment, and he only stated that mistakes can happen to anyone, and he reaffirms his choice of Harris for president, but does hope he has another chance to go hunting with her before the November 5th election. Additionally, the eyewitness to the shooting, Jeff Ware, was found dead with 2 gunshot wounds to the back of his head shortly after our interview. Authorities have ruled it a suicide and no foul play was involved.
I'm very familiar.
Isn't that bizarre that you can really take someone's own words, run them through some kind of computer program, and make a complete false narrative that looks pretty believable, right? Some comedian did this. The man that's the alleged witness in this little spoof is a comedian, and he created this. I don't know what his motives were for creating it, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is a perfect example of how we need to question everything. Remember how they were showing us clips of people laying around in hospital beds and gurneys and laid out in morgues and different places and saying how tremendous this pandemic had become at the death toll? And then later, some really great researchers known as Anons dug up and discovered that those were actually clips from movies that were spliced right into the mainstream media's news report. Guys, this can be faked in so many ways that we truly do need to question everything, and we need our independent journalists. I'm so grateful that we are in a time now where there are so many independent journalists out there, really boots on the ground, looking, digging, researching, and showing you the truth because they've duped us for a very long time. Which brings me to this next interesting clip that I had come across my desk from someone today. And by the way, thank you very much for sharing with me. You know who you are. I won't name names. I think this is it right here. See if I can get that bigger. Okay, what's happening? Well, there's no volume. Just a minute. Let me see if I can fix this.
It comes out of the gun this slow, very, very, very slow. And it hits Kennedy in the head, and you see everything flying out of his head. And I'm thinking, this isn't the tape I ever saw before. So I said, is this a doctored tape? What's this about? And he said, this is the original one. And I said, no, you know. And he said, well, I'm going to.
Let me just see if I can back this up so that you can hear the beginning of this. I got to shrink it back down.
Yeah.
Back to there.
And it was so slow that you could almost see the air moving. Then you saw the driver take a gun and go like this and shoot Kennedy, and the bullet comes out of the gun this slow, very, very, very slow. And it hits Kennedy in the head, and you see everything flying out of his head. And I'm thinking, this isn't the tape I ever saw before. So I said, is this a doctored tape? What's this about? And he said, this is the original one. And I said, no, you know. And he says, well, I'm going to show you the one that you've seen on the media. Now, the next tape is your typical one where the driver just keeps driving, never even flinches with the gun. And he stops the tape. And he says, look at the tree. And there's the top of a tree growing in air. And he says, this is the one that you're seeing on the media. And it's been doctored. He looked very, very intently at me and he said, nothing is as it appears to be. That tape was the last thing he did before I left. And it occurred to me that that was shown so that it would provide deniability for Robert Booth Nichols. He had to have doctored that, to have put half a tree in that film. So that, you know, my ability to see the truth or to report the facts kind of goes out the window when you start describing that film. especially if you say you believed it. I can tell you right now, I saw it. There's no question what I saw. But like he said, nothing is as it appears to be in this world. Their world.
Hmm. That's frightening, don't you think? That's frightening. And we have a lot of those type of incidents where they try to tell you that your eyes are lying, and this is really the way that things went down. Look at how many Mandela effects we have, where they say, no, Richard Simmons didn't really wear a sweatband on his head and on his wrists. No, there was never Jiffy peanut butter. No, there was never a cornucopia in Fruit of the Loom. Things that we all saw with our own eyes. We know to be true. We know to be real. But even the companies themselves will go as far as saying we are wrong and that it never happened to convince us not to believe our lying eyes. Question everything, folks. Stay vigilant, use discernment, and stand in faith. Good will prevail. God will win. Till next time.